All right. Well, I got a question. The D.O.E. Yay or nay? What are your thoughts? Well, more after this. So most of you probably already know what the D.O.E. stands for. But for those of you that don't, it stands for the Department of Education. Now, I'm curious where you guys kind of come down on. Do you like the Department of Education and you want to see it continue? Or do you not like the Department of Education and you want to get rid of it and you want to kind of send it back to the states and let the states kind of worry about it instead of having the federal government involved and all of these teacher unions and everything? Well, I want to give my thoughts on it. But before I do, I want to take a moment here and just talk about DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, Elon Musk, finding and cutting all of this wasteful spending. A lot of people are a fan of this, which I am one. I mean, those that aren't a fan, that are crying and screaming and saying, hey, you're cutting all of this stuff. US aid, you're taking away this necessary aid that we're sending to all of this stuff. But as we peel back and uncover what exactly our tax dollars are going to, I don't understand why some of the Americans don't want to find this fraud, waste, and abuse, and why they don't want this government to shrink, the federal government. We need less federal government oversight. We need more of our tax dollars kind of coming back to us and more money in our pockets instead of being spent and funding all of this stuff and overseas and agendas that, I think majority of America don't really approve of. This DEI stuff, the LGBTQ stuff in other countries, all this woke garbage. I've done videos on that before, but I want to focus now on the Department of Education because that is a source of tension now going on in like the news, where some judges are trying to block DOGE from investigating the Department of Education. And that kind of brought to mind, really talking about the Department of Education and seeing what you guys think, if you guys are a fan of the DOE or not, and overall DOGE finding the corruption and everything. I think most of us, if we are really honest with ourselves, don't really have a problem with DOGE trying to find this fraud, waste, and abuse and give us money back in our pockets. But the Department of Education is, I think, a source of tension with a lot of people because they're like, well, the Department of Education has a purpose. The teachers' unions, they kind of focus on that to make sure that the teachers are kind of given a proper wage and all of this stuff. And wherever, whatever else you want to say and put in there about what they do right. Where, yes, probably when it was established, the Department of Education did have a purpose, but it has been overrun with a bunch of bureaucracy and a bunch of indoctrination. Instead of actually educating students, they're more teaching them how to become activists instead of really just informing them and informing them correctly. You might not see this and realize this, so I just want to highlight a small example. But before I do, there's a few clips I want to show you. One, Marissa Straight, the CEO of PragerU, she was talking with Douglas Murray. He's a British journalist and commentator. And she was talking about this whole idea of when you lower the standard, because she was a teacher before she became the CEO of PragerU. And she was talking about how you lower the standards to try to to try to meet the standard. You just lower the standard, and how that's not right when you focus on a small section of people and kind of cater towards them. So check this clip out because I think it's really pertinent in what we're talking about.
Well, we're supposed to be able to do that. We're supposed to be okay. Well, these people are freaks. Let them do their thing. Goodbye. But
except it's always shoved down our throats.
Exactly. Everywhere we go, we try to start a new thing, and they just show up, whether it's through DEI initiatives or calling us all kinds of names if you don't bring them in. And I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm an educator, and so I used to run a school. And so you talk about really catering to the lowest denominator of the class. That is always a bad thing because everybody loses. The kids in the middle and the kids at the top always lose if you're constantly focusing on the lowest common denominator. And that is what much of American schools have done. They have lowered the standards in classrooms in order for everybody to feel good and for the teacher, by the way, to feel good too.
Yes.
Right? Imagine if you were running a company and you get to just lower the standards in order for you to meet these standards, right? That is what we have done here. And our society has been doing the same thing. We've lowered all standards in order to really cater to the freaks.
Well, I think as Mike Pompeo said a couple of years ago, the most dangerous person in America is Randy Weingarten.
Yes.
I think it's absolutely true.
Yes. And Becky Pringle.
Yeah, I say this as a...
I don't know about you, but I really agree with what she was saying there. The example that she gave about a company, if you catered to a small section, you can't pass like all of these criterias or these standards. You can't meet these standards. So you lower the standards so that you can meet it because you can't achieve the set standard that they put in place. So, well, lower the standard. No, if you can't meet the standard, then perhaps maybe you shouldn't be running a business. But instead, we've fallen into this trap of catering to the people that cry and complain the loudest and raise the biggest stink. So we lower the standards and we cater to the small group of people that really love this LGBTQ being taught in schools and this transgender stuff and these woke ideologies, all of this stuff. We cater to a small group of people instead of the whole that really does not agree with it. So you're going to make all these other people suffer and go through trying to learn this stuff or indoctrinate these kids that really don't want to learn this and have no business learning it because it's not education. It's indoctrination and trying to teach them and make them activists to your cause, a cause that you believe in. It's not right. I saw this thing that PragerU posted where people were complaining and screaming. I'll put a screenshot up on the screen. They're saying, oh, you can't have like the Pledge of Allegiance or the Ten Commandments in the classroom because then you're pushing your agenda on others. And then they have a picture. The left is saying this, right? You can't have the Ten Commandments in the classrooms and stuff like that because now you're trying to indoctrinate people. But then also the left, you'll see the flag of the Black Lives Matter and the LGBTQ, the pride flag. What is that? It's like you're trying to talk out of both sides of your mouth. You're not consistent with your reasoning. It just doesn't make sense. So to kind of hone in more on this Department of Education, I have another clip to show you from Marissa Straight and Douglas Murray. They were still the same conversation, but she was talking about the NEA, which is one of the teachers' unions, and the agenda, their top agenda, which you might be surprised to find out in 2022 what their top agenda was. Not what you might think. So check this out.
You want to hear something shocking? So in 2022, I pulled up the NEA's agenda. NEA is the other teachers union in the United States. They have over 2 million members, right? That's Becky Pringle. Guess what their number one issue of business was on their agenda? 2022.
I'm trying to think, probably DI, race, could be that everyone's got to be trans. I don't know, what was it?
Well, you would hope it would be literacy or math, right? Their number one issue of business was the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. protecting the Palestinian indigenous people of that homeland.
Yes, of
And so
course.
when people are wondering why are students rioting pro-Palestine on college campuses across the United
They've been
States right
told to.
now, they've been groomed to do that for years
Yeah.
through these political enterprises like the NEA that have been shoving their political ideology into the schools.
And it's so preposterous because, I mean, on that one, if they got their way presumably being the Palestinians get given a state in what is now Israel, what do you get from it? All you get is another failed Arab country, which at best would be incredibly corrupt and violent, and at worst, most likely, would just be another Iranian satellite state. So, like, why should a teaching union in the US be pushing kids to campaign for something which wouldn't improve the life of anyone, let alone their life in the United States? Like, you want another failed Arab state? Okay, great. What's that going to do for you?
Right. Well, that's why, when you talk about the war on the West and the
Now, I hope after seeing that and hearing that, it really sets off some red flags that you did not know before, that you were not aware of before, of just how corrupt and polluted the Department of Education has become. But like she's saying, this is why you see a lot of campuses, a lot of students going protesting all of this stuff when they don't really know what they're protesting. So I got a clip to show you just to kind of back up what she was saying. One clip of some NYU students at a protest, a pro-Palestine protest. And I want to show you this clip. Just hear what they say.
And what would you say is the main goal with tonight's protest?
I think the goal is just showing our support for Palestine and demanding that NYU stops. I honestly don't know all of what NYU is doing.
Is there something that NYU is doing?
I really don't know. I'm pretty sure they're... Do you know what NYU is doing?
About what?
About Israel. Why are we protesting here?
Palestine will be free!
I wish I was more educated.
I'm not either.
Oh.
I came from Columbia. I was there up at Columbia and we came down. They said NYU students needed our support. So I came down. I heard there's lots of cops. Do you know what NYU is doing?
About what?
About Israel. Why are we protesting here?
Palestine will be free!
I wish I was more educated.
I'm not either.
So you're protesting an issue that you really have no idea what all the facts are and what the whole story is. You're just told to go here and protest because some of these students or whatnot need your help. That is what's going on a wide scale across a lot of universities and a lot of campuses. This is why so many students rally and protest, and they don't even know why they're protesting. And this is what's wrong with the Department of Education. And not just the Department of Education, but government in general. It's become so fat and bloated, full of bureaucracy and ideologies and hidden agendas, selling out the American people. And this is why it is important for D.O.G.E, the Department of Government Efficiency, to look at all of these different programs and find the fraud, waste, and abuse, like the money aspect, but then also weed out all the corruption. And this is why I personally believe that the Department of Education needs to go. It needs to, be gone. There might be some good aspects of it or reasons why it was initially created, but it has become so bloated and so toxic that there's really no saving it. Just get rid of it and start over. And when I say start over, I don't mean start over at the federal level, but start over at the state level. Let the states focus on their education and set that. And go back to the beginning, to the fundamentals about teaching students the important stuff. Reading, writing, math, finances, how to do a budget, the important things. And stop trying to indoctrinate them. Stop trying to indoctrinate them. That is not your job. Your job is to educate. Educate. And don't pick and choose what you're educating them on. Because that is where you get into indoctrinating. Teach them the facts, the whole story, everything, and then let them decide. That way they can make an all-informed decision. they can create their own stuff after they've learned everything. So I hope this has shed some light on this whole issue and the whole Department of Education, and why I personally believe that it needs to go. I don't know if you guys agree with me or not, but comment below and let me know your thoughts. And I thank you guys for tuning in this week and for hearing me out and for allowing me to shed some light on this. So until next week, you guys stay safe, and I'll see you then.